No one ever tells you that after loving a narcissist, the hardest part isn't the breakup. It's the silence that follows. It's the silence where you still lie on the same familiar bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering to yourself, what did I do wrong? Was I really too sensitive? You miss them even though you know they were the one who hurt you. You miss the passionate messages, the sweet first words, the feeling of being seen, desired, and understood. Then you remember the sudden outbursts of anger, the moments of disdain, the suffocating nights of silence, and you can't comprehend how both versions could exist in the same person. The truth is, it wasn't love. It was confusion dressed up as love. When you love a narcissist, you're not just loving them. You're loving the illusion they created. They know exactly what you need to feel connected, and they give you just enough of it to make you addicted to that feeling. They make you believe that if you just try a little harder, be a little more patient, love them a little more, they'll go back to how they were in the beginning, but they never do. What you're really struggling with now isn't missing them, it's emotional addiction. Your brain is still chasing that dopamine rush of love and being loved they once gave you, only to snatch it away. That's why even when you know they're toxic, your heart still waits for a message, an apology, a small sign that maybe, this time, things could be different. You're not crazy, you're not weak, you are simply feeling the aftershocks of a disordered relationship, one where love was mixed with fear, where silence meant danger, and where you learn to survive through vigilance instead of peace. After they leave, you find yourself in a strange kind of quiet. No more fights, no more fake apologies, no more fragile hopes. But instead of peace, you feel empty. Because to your nervous system, peace used to mean the calm before the storm. Your body still reacts as if you're under threat even when the world around you is silent. That's your nervous system. It hasn't yet learned that safety can be real. And yet, in the midst of that quiet, something small begins to happen. You start to hear your own voice again, soft but real. It's no longer drowned out by criticism or manipulation, and in that moment you realize what you're feeling isn't loneliness, it's space. Space to breathe, space to recover. Silence is no longer the enemy. It's where healing begins. Let it hurt. Let it feel empty, because that emptiness is where your old self, the one who begged for love, begins to fade, making room for someone new to emerge. Someone who no longer needs anyone to prove their worth. Someone awake enough to understand you didn't lose love, you finally escaped its imitation. If you've ever loved a narcissist, you've experienced a form of psychological hypnosis without even realizing it. They don't need power or wealth to control you. All they need is something much simpler, selective attention. They watch you closely, identify your deepest desire to be seen, understood, and genuinely loved, and then give you just enough of it to keep you hooked. They make you believe this is the love you've always been searching for. The one true soulmate who can touch your soul. And just when you begin to trust completely, they pull it all away. No warning, no explanation, only coldness, silence, and confusion. That's when you start asking yourself, what did I do wrong? In that very moment, your mind is being reprogrammed. Every time they withdraw affection, your body goes into panic. Every time they return with tenderness, you feel relief. Your brain begins to associate love with fear, attachment with pain. It releases dopamine and oxytocin in erratic bursts, making you dependent on those emotional swings. You become addicted to the very person who hurt you, because they are also the only one who can give you a brief sense of safety after every storm. You don't realize that you're being controlled, not by words, but by the rhythm of hope and despair. Bit by bit, you start believing everything is your fault. When they explode in anger, you think, if I were calmer, they wouldn't be like this. When they go silent, you think, maybe I really am too sensitive. When they leave, you blame yourself. Maybe I just wasn't good enough to make them stay. You don't see that you're living inside a subtle conditioning system. one that trains you to believe that in order to be loved you must sacrifice yourself. They teach you that love means endurance, that peace only comes when you stay quiet, that your kindness is an obligation, not a gift. And when the relationship finally ends, those codes remain inside your mind. They make you suspicious of good people, doubtful of genuine kindness, afraid of calmness. You've lived in chaos for so long that peace itself feels unnatural. But the miracle is this: the moment you start seeing the mechanism, the programming begins to crack. You realize that what you called love was simply the reaction of a hijacked nervous system. You no longer believe in promises like, "I'll change." You stop thinking, "If I try one more time, maybe it'll be different." You start to understand that the repetition of pain isn't destiny. It's an old program still running in your mind. And the only thing you need to do now is cut the power. Stop arguing, stop justifying, stop hoping that the one who broke you will be the one to fix you. Every time you take a deep breath, every time you choose silence instead of reaction, every time you say no without guilt, you're rewriting your own code. Bit by bit, you're restoring the sense of normalcy they stole from you. And one day you'll finally see it. They never truly had control over you. They only made you forget that the power was yours all along. Even after you've walked away, you can still hear their voice in your mind, not their real voice, but the echo of the sweet words that once made you believe love could save everything. A part of you still thinks that if they came back, if things started over, maybe this time it would be different. You miss them. The rare moments of tenderness, the times they looked at you and said, "I need you. You're the only one who understands." And it's those memories, fragments of love mixed with pain, that keep you trapped in the illusion of hope. Hope is the last thing an empath lets go of. Because you love through faith, not just emotion, you believe in people's ability to change. You believe love can heal, that if you're just good enough, patient enough, forgiving enough, they'll finally see your worth. But that is the psychological trap a narcissist builds. They deal hope like a drug dealer, giving you the first hit, just enough to keep you craving the next one. The hardest part about leaving a narcissist isn't forgetting them. It's letting go of the belief that they'll return as a better version of themselves. Deep down, you don't just miss them, you miss yourself, the innocent, loving version of you before they broke you. You want to go back not only for them, but to rescue the part of you that once believed love was strong enough to change someone. But the truth is, love cannot change a narcissist. It only makes them stronger in manipulation. Every time you go back, they learn a new way to make you endure longer. They don't return to love. They return to regain control. And the most painful part is, they know you'll open the door. Because they once taught you to believe that your kindness has no limits. You're not weak for still missing them. You're someone who once loved deeply in a battle that was never fair. But now it's time to understand that hope isn't always light. Sometimes it's a golden chain that binds you to the dark. As long as you hope they'll change, you delay your own healing. You're holding on to someone who isn't real, an illusion built from promises that were never kept. Look deeper. If they did come back, would you truly be happy, or would you find yourself in the same old cycle? Love, pain, forgiveness, then heartbreak again. Deep down, you already know the answer. They don't miss you, they miss the power they had when they were with you. They miss being admired, being forgiven, being loved without deserving it. They don't come back out of love, they come back out of fear. Fear that you'll wake up, because once you realize your worth, they lose the supply that feeds their empty ego. So let that hope die, not out of bitterness, but out of clarity. Let the emptiness they left behind become the space where healing begins. Every time you want to text them, take a deep breath and remember, you don't miss who they truly are. You miss the version they pretended to be to win your heart. When you stop waiting, when you stop believing in a next time, you don't lose love, you regain emotional freedom. You'll begin to see that peace doesn't come when they apologize. It comes when you no longer need them to feel whole. And that's when you truly leave the relationship, not by blocking their number, but by closing the door of your soul to illusion. There comes a moment in every healing journey after loving a narcissist, the moment you stop asking, why are they like that, and start asking, why did I stay? That's when you stop looking for explanations for their behavior and turn the mirror toward yourself. And I know this part hurts, because when the light of truth shines on you, you don't just see the wounds they caused. You also see the empty spaces inside you, the places where love once turned into pleading. In that mirror, you may realize you didn't just love them, you tried to save them. You became the healer, the parent, the caretaker, the sacrificer. You thought you were being strong, but really, you were carrying their brokenness so you could feel worthy. You believed that if you were kind enough, patient enough, loving enough, you could reach the good side hidden within them. But the truth is, they never intended to show you that side, and it's that desire to save someone that quietly opened the door for you to lose yourself. Carl Jung once said, "We do not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." The narcissist arrives as a mirror for that darkness, the part of you that never learned to say no, the part that believes love must hurt to be real, the part that fears that if you stop giving, you'll stop being loved. They see the emptiness within you and fill it, not with love, but with the illusion of being special. You thought love could change them, but in truth, that love only pulled you further away from your authentic self. Every time you stayed silent to avoid their anger, every time you apologized for something that wasn't your fault, every time you tried to explain so they'd understand, you were draining your own energy to sustain an illusion. And when that illusion finally shattered, you felt exhausted, disoriented, and uncertain of your own worth. But that isn't collapse, it's awakening. When you dare to look directly into the mirror, you begin to see that they didn't come just to destroy you. They came to reveal unhealed wounds, the fear of abandonment, the sense of not being enough, the deep craving to be seen and validated. Those wounds didn't start with them, they began much earlier. Perhaps with a distant father or an unheard mother or a childhood where love had to be earned. The narcissist merely reactivated those memories, pulling you back into the same old script, trying to earn acceptance. And that's why, even after they're gone, you still can't forget, because you haven't forgiven yourself yet. You're angry that you didn't see it sooner, that you didn't leave earlier. But understand this, you weren't foolish. You were simply replaying an old story, hoping this time it would end differently. And now that you see it clearly, you finally have the chance to write a new ending. The mirror is not your enemy, it's your guide. Every time you face the pain, speak the truth, and acknowledge the fragile parts you once avoided, you reclaim your power. Once you understand the pattern within you, you're no longer ruled by it. And when you truly realize that I don't have to suffer to be loved, every door to manipulation quietly closes. The narcissist once taught you that you were small, fragile, and dependent on them to exist. But the mirror of awareness teaches you the opposite. You never needed them to be yourself. All you ever needed was the courage to look within and say, I see it now, and I'm ready to heal. After leaving a narcissistic relationship, many empaths find themselves in a strange emotional state. They know they need boundaries, yet every time they try to set one, a wave of guilt rises inside. It feels as if every no risks losing love. Every act of self-protection feels selfish. That's the consequence of living too long in an environment where your needs were treated as burdens and your silence was mistaken for love. The narcissist taught you a distorted language of love, where endurance was called loyalty and resistance was labeled betrayal. So when you start asserting your limits, your body panics. You hear that old voice in your head. Am I being too harsh? Maybe I should give a little more. If I stay quiet, things will be calm. But that calm you once called peace was really the numbness of a soul that had been violated too many times. Setting boundaries isn't about building walls. It's about building doors. Doors can open to real love, but they also know when to close to protect it. When you say no, you're not rejecting anyone, you're choosing yourself. And you have every right to do so. Because if someone can only love you when you have no boundaries, they don't love you. They love the power your submission gives them. Empaths often believe they were born to heal others. But healing is never a one-sided sacrifice. True healing begins when you turn back toward yourself. Your body, your emotions, your exhaustion, all the parts you've ignored. When you say no, you're saying yes to your own peace. When you stop explaining yourself to people who never listen, you stop feeding what was never worthy of your energy. You may lose a few people when you set boundaries, but you'll find yourself again. You'll lose relationships built on fear, but you'll regain your self-respect, and that is the foundation of all healthy love. Boundaries don't make you lonely, they simply remove the people who made you feel alone even when you were with them. As you begin to practice boundaries, your body will react. Your heart races, your voice trembles, your palms sweat. That's your nervous system relearning the language of safety. Because in the past, saying no once meant being yelled at, ignored, or punished. But now, every time you push through that discomfort, you're teaching yourself, I can be safe even when I'm not pleasing anyone. Remember this, true love never demands that you sacrifice your inner peace to maintain outer harmony. The one who truly loves you will respect your boundaries, want to know what makes you feel safe, and never use guilt to make you obey. And if someone gets angry, withdraws, or leaves when you set a boundary, their departure isn't a loss, it's liberation. So don't apologize for becoming strong. Don't fear being unrecognizable to those who once thrived on your compliance. They're just unfamiliar with this version of you, the one who protects herself. Boundaries are the declaration of mature love, where you don't need to scream to be heard, don't need to bleed to be loved, and don't need to shrink to fit someone else's frame. And if you ever forget, remind yourself, I don't have to suffer to be loved. I don't have to be hurt to be accepted. I am enough, even when I stand alone. There comes a moment in healing that few people warn you about. The moment you meet someone genuine, gentle, and kind, yet you don't feel the spark. Your heart doesn't race, instead you feel an odd emptiness. You smile, but your soul feels distant. You're being loved, yet somehow you're confused. You start to wonder, have I not moved on? Or have I forgotten how to love? But the truth is, you're experiencing the unfamiliar calm when your nervous system, after years of surviving chaos, no longer recognizes healthy love. The narcissist taught you that love must come with intensity, that if there aren't arguments, tears, breakups, and makeups, it isn't real. They made you addicted to emotional turbulence where pain and passion blended into a dangerous rush of adrenaline. So when someone comes along who is kind, transparent, and safe, who doesn't manipulate or frighten you, your mind interprets that as boring or lacking fire. But it's not a lack of fire, it's a lack of fear. Healthy love isn't an emotional roller coaster, it's a safe companionship. It doesn't make you anxious about losing it, it makes you feel secure because you know you don't have to fight for it. A kind person won't make you guess whether today they love or despise you. You won't need to decode their tone or overanalyze their silence. They don't steal your peace to prove their presence, they're simply there. Steady, clear, and sincere. And that confuses you because in your old world, peace always meant the storm is coming. The truth is, when you've lived too long in a state of stress, peace doesn't feel like a reward, it feels like a void. Because when the adrenaline fades, your body doesn't yet know how to live in this slower rhythm. But that's a natural process. Your system is relearning safety. It's like leaving a noisy room. At first, the silence makes your ears ring, but soon you begin to hear your own voice again. And when you truly hear that voice, you realize that real love isn't the storm, it's the person sitting beside you through the rain. It's not the shouting passion, it's the quiet understanding in their eyes when you're tired. It doesn't need drama to feel alive, because it isn't afraid of stillness. When you meet someone who makes you feel calm in silence, it isn't because the love is dull, it's because your soul is finally resting. Don't confuse peace with boredom. Boredom is the absence of stimulation. Peace is the absence of fear. Boredom empties you. Peace restores you. When you can sit with quiet without needing to fill it, you're redefining love, transforming emotional addiction into mature connection. And one day, you'll meet someone who doesn't make you crazy in love, but makes you calm in love. Someone who doesn't confuse you with promises, but comforts you through actions. Someone who doesn't make you fight to win, but makes you feel like you've come home. That is love after the storm. It's not as dazzling as fireworks, but it's as warm as candlelight. It's not as loud as thunder, but as steady as a breath. And you'll finally see that what you once called intense love was really panic romanticized. True love, it's quiet, consistent, and strong enough to last a lifetime. There's one thing that everyone who has loved a narcissist carries with them, whether they admit it or not: the feeling that something is wrong with me. After everything, you've heard lines like, "You're too sensitive, you overthink everything, no one else could ever put up with you." And after hearing that long enough, you start to believe it. That you are the problem, that your love is too much, that your kindness is a burden. But pause for a moment, take a deep breath. The truth is, you were never too much. You simply gave your love to the wrong person. A narcissist doesn't fear love, they fear reflection. And you, with your empathy, sincerity, and emotional light, were the mirror that forced them to see their emptiness. Instead of facing that truth, they shattered the mirror. They made you doubt yourself, to hide their own void. They taught you that kindness is weakness, that sensitivity is wrong, that you must shrink to be loved. But none of that was ever true. They didn't leave because you were too much. They left because your light was too bright for their darkness. Now you no longer need to prove your worth to anyone. You don't need someone else's validation to know that your heart is valuable. You don't have to love smaller, feel less, or stay silent to be accepted. The very traits they once shamed you for, your compassion, your intuition, your authenticity, are the gifts you carry into the next chapter of your life. A chapter where love is no longer a battlefield, but a sanctuary. Understand this. Healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means remembering without pain. You'll be able to look back at those memories with gratitude, not because they were beautiful, but because they taught you the difference between love and manipulation. They taught you to listen to your own emotions, to stop when something feels wrong, to say no without fear of losing anyone. True love will never ask you to shrink yourself to fit someone else's limits. It won't make you walk on eggshells or force you to choose between freedom and connection. Real love will see you, all of you, both the light and the shadow, the scars and the strength. And instead of fearing those parts, they will honor them. One day, when you look back, you won't feel anger toward your past anymore. You'll simply smile, because you'll understand they were never deep enough to reach the kind of love that lives within you. You'll feel peace, because you'll know that you survived one of the hardest lessons life could give, and you came out wiser, stronger, and freer than ever before. And as you move forward from this journey, carry this final reminder with you. I don't need love to complete me. I am love in human form. Because once you truly understand that, no narcissist will ever be able to touch your heart again.